Aloha, everybody. This is Dave Wallace coming to you from Waihoa, Hawaii, and it's story time. Okay? Aloha to everybody. This story I want to share with you occurred to me when I was a little child growing up on the island of Molokai. One of the favorite places that our family used to spend a lot of time at was at a beach called Mo'omomi, which was located kind of like on a northwest side of the island. It was a bay, and there was a long road, dirt road that led to it through. It wound through cow pasture. Okay, there was a community pasture for homesteaders who wanted to raise cattle. Anyway, so at the end of this road was a beach. The thing that we liked about Mo'omomi is that there was a pavilion with showers and toilets, and a lot of times the toilets weren't working. So a lot of times, if you wanted to use bathroom, you had to find bushes somewhere. Okay. The bay itself, it was a small sandy. You had a small sandy beach, and there was kind of like a ramp that was cut through uh, dirt and kind of like a plateau overlooking the bay, and that's where we used to walk down. We spent a lot of summer school days there, where we'd swim all day, eat lunch with friends and things. However, families would also spend a lot of time there too, and so our family was no different. Okay, now to the right of the bay is very rocky, and there's remnants of different stone formations. As kids, we used to call them heiau, but uh, now we understand they were simply stone formations for homes that were built there. Okay, and that area had several of those large platforms where homes were built or houses were built because this place was had a lot of fish. Okay, and so that's the right side. In fact, the whole area was littered with ammunition, actually bullet heads and shells, because the military used that as target practice. They would set up. I still remember as a kid at the point to the right hand side, there was a wooden frame that was built, and targets were put up there, and the planes would come in. Um, during World War II, they would use that as a practice place. So the planes would come in and shoot at the targets and shoot at anything around there. And unfortunately, many of the artifacts on that side of the bay was ruined because of this constant, um, you know, shooting and blasting. You can find shards of broken stone that all over the place, along with 50 caliber heads, yeah. So and shells. They were littered all over the place. On the left hand side of the bay were sand dunes. And in these sand dunes, I recall as a child walking through there with my dad. My dad used to walk through the sand dunes to get to his fishing spots, fishing holes where he would throw net for moi. And during the moi season, the moi would come in and would be in these holes in the reef, and my dad would know where these spots were. And sometimes he'd go by himself, sometimes he'd go with friends. Certain holes, if you timed it right, first person to throw on the inside, and the fish, whoever escaped, ran out to this other place to congregate. And if you timed it right, if you had two uh, fishermen fishing this throwing net at the same hole, first person throw, wait for a few minutes, and the second person throw, both nets would be filled with fish. Okay, so anyway, the sand dunes was really interesting because as a child, we used to spend a lot of time walking through this space, and a lot of times um, I'd be walking and I looking at the sand, and I see human bones, Evie, popping out of the ground. Sometimes they were rib bones, sometimes they were hand bones. A couple of times they were kind of like fingers sticking out. And several times you can see the nice round shape of the human skull. And so we knew that there were Eevee over there. And we didn't know who they were, who they belonged to. And as kids, we used to make stories up about who was there. Yeah. And so if you could tell a really good story, that was good to tell around the campfire. Anyway, this several times walking through the sand dunes, I would see these Eevee, and I knew they were there, and so um, we I was told to be quiet when we walk through and to show respect. And so if we're talking and walking through the sand dunes, we stop and we continue on. Now, this one time that I remember, our whole church, our whole ward went down to camping at Momomi, and the place was packed with tents and everything. And um, when you get that many people there and limited bathrooms, that's when you have to go scrounge around in the bushes to find your corner if you want to relieve yourself. And this one time I remember, I wanted to uh, make shishi or urinate. And I was looking for a place to go, and the bathrooms were all crowded, and people there was a big kiawe tree next to the pavilion, and there were families camped out all over there. So I was looking for a place to spot, so I started walking towards the sand dunes. And there's a gully that drops in, and as I walked past, there were kids in the gully playing around, so I didn't want to relieve myself in front of them. So I continued walking and holding myself ready to pee. And this was just when the sun setting down, and so I had to walk with flashlight to find my place. And finally, I found a place near the sand dunes where I could finally relieve myself. So I unzipped and started relieving myself. And just before I finished, I felt something smack me on this side of the head, and I was sprawling onto the sand right in the shishi I just made. And I stand up and I went, oh, I get my flashlight, I start flashing around. Nobody there. So I stood up and I kind of looked around, and I realized I was really close to the sand dunes, but I wasn't in the sand dunes. And so I was wondering, why would somebody smack me like that? And so I gathered myself and I walked back. I walked back to the pavilion, and the smell of urine all over me and all dirty and stuff. And so when I walked back to the pavilion, I saw my mom and my dad. I said, and they looked at me, boy, you okay? Says, oh, sorry about the clothes. And they looking at my face. I said, no, I'm not worried about your clothes. Who hit you? And I look at it. I says, oh, you see the mark? Yeah, there was a big hand on my on my feet. Who hit you? So I look at my mom and dad. He says, oh, I went by the sand dunes right at the edge of the sand dunes because I needed to go make shishi. And right when I said that, my dad said, I like slap you now. And so I looked at him. I said, oh, what happened? He says, boy, there's Evie all over there. Don't go shishi over there. So that was a lesson to me not to make shishi on that side of Momomi. And, you know, a lot of the kids, um, or the people that were making shishi was doing it inside the little gully and covering up, but they weren't going as far as I was, and so that was a lesson, kind of like a boundary. I was urinating at the boundary of this place where Eevee uh, were still in the ground. Over the years, the Eevee kept on being exposed, and I don't recall anyone doing anything about the EV, and whether or not they're still there, I'm not sure. But I know that the place, these areas, the sand dunes, were heavily investigated by academics, and in fact, in that area, they found this flightless goose and with teeth and stuff that predated a lot of humans in the area. And they found out that this area, although it's modern day, it's really dry. A long time ago, eons ago, it was a uh, it was a paradise. Okay, so that's my story for today. So next time you make shishi down by the beach, be careful, yeah. Especially if there's EV around, or even if you're not sure there's EV. A lot of the beaches where there's sand, there's a lot of EV there because it's easy to dig in sand, yeah. And and we're not too sure um, where these ancients are buried. Okay, so this is Dave Wallace saying mahalo for watching, and subscribe to my channel. We're getting up there. Okay, so uh, have a good Sunday and aloha.